Hi, Bruce Johnson, founder of Wired to Grow, and today I want to talk to you about 3 keys to positioning your business for rapid growth. The good news is you want to grow. The bad news is you're probably somewhat frustrated that people in your market, your prospects, especially your ideal prospects, don't seem to know that you're different than other people. Now, you think you're different, but they don't. So how do we solve that problem? Well, today I'm going to give you the 3 keys that are going to help you solve that problem. So here we go. Number 1. The first key is that you need to study your competitors. You need to know your competitors inside out. Now, before you run by and say, duh, let me assure you that over the last decade plus of working with business owners and entrepreneurs on this subject and doing lots of strategy sessions, I can tell you that 95+% of business owners and entrepreneurs do not have a clue about this. You ask them who their competitors are, some of them struggle to even name them. And then you'd say, okay, what differentiates them from you? They struggle again. Then you say, well, what are their competitive advantages? They struggle again. What's their position in the market? They struggle again. I'm telling you that 95+% of business owners and entrepreneurs do not know this. So please pay attention. This is really critical. You cannot position yourself to be different if you really don't know how they're different, right? You have to know who they are. It's amazing to me. You'd never see an NFL team, for example, ever get ready for a game without studying film on their competitors, right? You can't win without understanding who they are. And frequently when I'll ask a business owner or entrepreneur, what differentiates you? How are you positioned differently? And they'll say A, B, and C. And then I'll go to their competitor websites and I'll say, well, look at this. Isn't this interesting? A, B, and C. In other words, you're saying the exact same thing and you're wondering why people can't differentiate you. It's probably because you're probably saying about the same thing. So how do you turn this around? Well, you study your competitors. You know them inside out. That means not only do you go to their website, you start taking down notes, writing down, here they're marketing this, they position themselves this way, they think they're really good at this. And then you get on their email list and you start collating that information, coming back and forth. If they're in a store, obviously, or physical location, you can go mystery shop. If they have a webinar, go subscribe to the webinar, watch it, see what they're talking about. And then this is a really good one. When you meet someone who's a customer of theirs, instead of trying to sell them, use this as a great marketing research moment. In other words, just start asking them lots of questions about their experience with them and what do they like about them and why did they choose them. And all that information now comes to be part of your deep well, and that will help you grow a lot faster than trying to get that one sale, which in many cases probably won't happen. Now, interestingly, by not trying to sell, you actually might get a customer out of that. So step 1 is you've got to know your competitors inside out. If you do that, you're running game film, you'll be way ahead of the vast majority of business owners and entrepreneurs, and then you'll be able to position yourself differently because now you know how they're positioning them. But that's not all you need to do. Step 2 is you need to know your prospects, your ideal prospects' hierarchy of wants. And you need to know that probably better than they do themselves, right? Like every person has a set of problems. They have obstacles they need to overcome, fears, frustrations, etc. Everyone has those. And the reason we exist in business is to solve them, right? The reason that businesses exist are to solve problems for a group of people at a positive value exchange, right? And so in order to be a good business, you got to solve a problem. But the problem is that there's so many problems out there. How do you pick? Well, what I would suggest is that as you get to know your ideal prospects, and you can go after anyone in your market, but why go after on the low end when you can go after your ideal prospect? As you're doing that, what is the hierarchy of those wants? And all of us have a hierarchy, right? We could break this down into 4 categories. Let's call it the urgent want, the searching for want, the nice to have want, and the someday want, right? And you could probably take and create it on a piece of paper or in a spreadsheet, those 4 categories, and then put those wants in that spreadsheet or on that piece of paper. Be able to say, is this an urgent want? Like they've got to have it now? Is this something that they're actually actively searching for right now? They've got a problem and they're trying to fix it? Is this something that when you offer it, they're going, hey, I'd like to have that. It's a nice thing, because there are plenty of nice things out there. But being in the nice to have category is going to be hard to really have a great position. You don't want to be in the nice to have category. And then you look down at the bottom and say, someday, someday, 3 years, 5 years, 10 years, that sounds like a great idea. You don't want to be down there. So how can you make sure that when you're positioning, you're going to be in the high end? Well, you've got to know where you are. Now, here's the key. Remember that it's a positive value exchange. The customer or prospect has to feel like they're getting a really great deal. Well, if you're on the high end, the value that they're going to perceive of your offering skyrockets. So that also allows you to charge more money. So as you're thinking about where do you want to position yourself in the market, why position yourself down here when you can position yourself toward the urgent or the high end of the searching? And if you're in that category, you'll be able to charge more, make more profit. Just makes a whole lot of sense. So step one, you got to know your competitors inside out. Step two, the second key then, is you got to know your ideal prospects. And the key here is their hierarchy of wants, not just their wants, but their hierarchy of wants. And then once you know those two things, then the third key is really simple. You need to find the open space between those two things, right? And ultimately, it's not that difficult, right? Just take out a piece of paper or a spreadsheet or something and start marking down. Here, everyone's marketing this. Oh, here's an open space, here's an open space, here's an open space. And then based on the hierarchy of wants, you're going to say, well, that one's not important, that one's not important. This one would be really key. One of my favorite stories about this was watching Gordon Ramsay a couple years ago on one of those kitchen makeover episodes. And I'm a strategist at heart, so I just love strategy. And this was a great strategic level moment. And by the way, positioning is a strategy question, right? It doesn't matter who you've been, because who you're going to be can be something completely different than who you've been in the past. I love that. So Gordon comes into this town. It's an Italian restaurant. They're failing miserably. He walks in, talks to them, interviews them, and then he does what he should do, right? Competitive research. He starts walking the town to see, what's going on. And what he observes is in this little town, there are a whole lot of Italian restaurants. He said, but there was one thing he noticed they didn't have. They did not have a high-end steakhouse. And so he comes back to this Italian restaurant and he says, well, I've solved your problem. You're going to become a steakhouse. And they're like, no, we're an Italian restaurant. And he says, no, I don't care what you've been. You're going to become a steakhouse. Now, the nice thing about these makeovers, right, they happen in a week, is they literally went from an Italian restaurant to a steakhouse in a week. But now, instead of one of many, they were now the only one. They were the open space. And because Gordon Ramsay had plenty of experience with talking to prospects and knowing that, every town has a lot of people who would like a really good steak. And those people, by the way, happen to pay higher amounts. So you increase the transaction value, you increase the profit. Everything worked out, turned it around in a week because at a strategic level, he said, I know the competitors, I know the hierarchy of wants, and I found some open space between those. And if you could do that with your business, and you can find that open space that no one else in your market owns, well then every prospect's going to go, that's a company I want, because they're different, they're unique, they solve a high level want, and no one else around here is doing that. They're the best at it. So that's how you do it. So those are the three keys. You got them down: your competitors, your prospects, open space. I know you can do this. So if you found this helpful, I encourage you to share it with some other people that you know, some other business owners and entrepreneurs. If you haven't subscribed to our new YouTube channel, make sure you just hit the subscribe button below. And on the video, sometimes it's on the video in the lower right corner. Hit the subscribe button. I'm going to continue to provide as much content and value as I can for you, because I want to help you design and scale your business. So to the next time, to your accelerated success, Bruce out.